Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so excited you guys are here. Pop on and say hi if you're here. You can actually make comments in the comment section. Hopefully, I'm getting everybody in. I'm trying something new where we had a waiting room, so that is having me invite you guys in. So I'm so excited you guys are here. Oh, so much to share with you today. So if anybody is new to learning about who I am, I'm Julie Bjelland, and I'm a psychotherapist, and I specialize in the trait of high sensitivity. So I'm the one that founded this group, and I'm super excited you're here, and there's so much to share with you guys. So I'm just thinking this is just going to be a great hour. Hopefully we get everything covered. And I'm seeing that I'm still letting people in, but I want to get it started a little bit to make sure that we get everything covered today, because there's so much to share with you. So I think that this, even just to share about why I got this community started in the first place, I think I've been teaching courses for highly sensitive people, and it has been incredible. And what's always happened out of that is that you bring a group of HSPs together, and it is really special because there's not too many places in the world that we all get to be together, because we're the 20%. We're used to being surrounded by the majority that don't have this population, that don't have this trait. So it's really always been such a special thing, and it's almost sad to have courses end, because then we all scatter and we lose contact. So this really was kind of a culmination of that, of realizing that I wanted to have a space for us to be together, for you guys to be together, that was really special. And I think you guys are already seeing that in just the kindness that you share with each other. It's just so special. And I just love having you guys here. So I think that I've been taking some notes about what you guys have been saying about what you're looking for, you know, in this community, and they've just been so really special. And I wanted to share a few of them. What we're going to do today is talk a little bit about my vision for this community, and some navigation tips for anybody that might need them, since this is our first welcome video. And speaking of video, I know some of you had said you prefer audio. And if that's the case, just turn off the video part and just listen. That's always an option too. And then we're going to get into some Q&A that you have submitted in the Ask Julie topic. So I gathered some of those questions to ask. And so I'll be answering some of those today. So it's just been such a wonderful thing seeing you guys come together already. And I think that what happens is you start to realize how special you are when you're in a group of highly sensitive people that are really so supportive and genuine and kind. This is who you are. And it's part of a very special experience to be able to share that together. So, and then you guys have the option too on Zoom. I'm super proud of you for getting on here. Some of you are probably familiar with Zoom from some of my courses or from other places. So that you kind of get a sense of how to use it. You can have your video showing or not, and everybody's muted at the moment. So we'll see how it works, and we'll learn together. Let me read a few of these that are just so special, and it really has a lot to do with my vision. You guys captured my vision in everything that you talked about. So I'll read some of them. It's been wonderful being in Julie's online course and connecting with fellow HSPs. I want to keep the connection going. Please, plus learn how to embrace this gift that's part of my life. Another person said, to be in a place with only wonderful, artistic, empathetic, understanding, and compassionate HSPs is a reward all of its own. I agree. A supportive, and so these are the answers that you gave when we posted in the community about what did you want to get from this community of peers. A supportive environment where I can continue to learn about my trait and others who share it, so that we can all shine and make our unique contribution to the world. to share with each other, support and uplift one another, being in a community together, bring love, joy, harmony, peace, connection to our beloved world, be in a space where we are one. And that's what happens when you get HSPs together. And it's so fascinating. Really, my vision has a lot to do with helping you understand how special you are in the world, how needed you are in the world. And the thing is that the world is mostly set up for the 80% that don't have this trait. So what happens is, for sensitive people, is that we really get bogged down, overstimulated, overwhelmed by all that's going on, all the overstimulation. It's not set up for our stimulation levels. And so I kind of think of it as you have a layer of overwhelm that covers up your gifts. And my mission is to help you lift off that layer of overwhelm so that you can access those gifts, because you have so many gifts. And if you've been in one of my courses or read one of my books, you already know how passionate I am about this trait. But anybody that's new to me or to this experience of being around HSPs will start to get to know that very clearly, because you absolutely do have so many gifts. And I believe those gifts are needed in the world. So it's my mission to help you uncover and access those gifts to be able to use them. And that's exactly what happens when you start to learn some of the techniques that I've developed over the years. I started out working with clients and writing books and developing courses. And now I really want to have everything that I do be concentrated into this one space that's off social media. So we're not in chaos. We're not in an area where there's so much promotion and so much distraction going on. This is a space that you really can come into and feel nurtured and supported and find your tribe of HSPs that's so special. So I'm just checking in to make sure I actually checked everybody in. So you'll see me do that a couple of times because I want to make sure that everybody's in. So, and my vision has been to bring together kind, compassionate, genuine people. That's who you are. And I think a lot of us lived in the world, including myself, before I understood about this trait, feeling really out of place in the world, different, like something was wrong with me. So I think that many of us developed almost a fear of vulnerability. Maybe we put a wall up. Maybe there's a little space between us and other people because we are trying to protect ourselves in some ways. We may have developed some of that even in our childhood. I certainly heard those messages about, you know, why are you so sensitive? And grew up thinking there was something wrong with that. And I have so much to teach you guys about this trait, and we will be doing trainings along the way, and I'm going to be listening to what you need. So I hope that what comes out of this is just a feeling of such a sense of support that you have a space in the world that's yours, that we belong together. And I'm so excited about it. So it's been already beautiful to watch you all interacting with each other and lifting each other higher, because that's what we do. We lift each other up in the world, and that's what we're meant to do. So, and I think about, this is such a beautiful place for us to grow and to connect. I love that this platform is actually through Mighty Networks, and I'm finding it quite intuitive. And I think that it probably had some kind of HSP on board, helping to develop some of this. I wouldn't be surprised, just because it's got a real intuitive feel to it. For anybody that's brand new, it takes a little bit of time. Give yourself time to just kind of work through it and be patient. I know we have that perfectionism in us as HSPs, as highly sensitive people. So just give yourself time to get to know it and what works for you. And there's such a great navigation system that I'm kind of learning about as we go too, to kind of see what works and maybe making changes here and there too. So my goal is really to help you reduce your challenges, access more of your positives, love who you are in the world. And I know in my last class that just finished, it was amazing to hear the stories of the transformations that happened to the HSPs that were in the class, just finding themselves again, learning how to love themselves, opening up that creative center in the brain again, accessing the parts of them that are meant to be shared with the world, whether it's through music or writing or art or education or whatever it is. That there's so much to share. And I also have a mission to help give information to and educate therapists and doctors in the mental health and medical field to make sure that they have the right information for you. So my goal is really just to support you in all aspects of your life so that you can truly blossom in the world, because I absolutely believe that you can blossom if you aren't already. So we're going to have these guest speakers. I'm going to be bringing in people that I'm inspired by, that I think are going to be really educational for us to know about, like a naturopathic doctor to talk about our overactive nervous system and how to support it. We've got a posture movement specialist next week. And the title of that is Caring for Your Highly Sensitive Body, Avoiding Pain, Tension, and Stress. That's going to be great because pain is absolutely connected to stress. And I think she's going to be great. Most if not all, it's kind of my mission to have all of our speakers be HSPs themselves. And for those of you brand new, you're going to hear me using HSP a lot. It happens to just be a very easy way of saying about our trait. But the actual scientific name of it is called sensory processing sensitivity. It's an innate trait. It is not a disorder. And you'll be learning lots more about it as well. And we're going to have an herbalist upcoming. I'm excited about that one. That's kind of an introduction to herbal self-care for HSPs. And that's going to be great because we have sensitive systems. So being able to start with something more natural to support our system is always a good first step. And even some HSP entrepreneur leadership, talking about some forms of that too, being a leader in your field or working in a business, something like that. So there's so many good things. And I really wanted to highlight any of you that are really thriving in your calling already. If you're an HSP and you're thriving in your calling, I'd love to highlight you. And I'm bringing on anybody that wants to teach something to the community. You can email us at info@juliebjelland.com. So that's something that if you want to, submit something about being a guest for us to teach us something, that would be great. So let me give you a little bit of navigation information, but let me check on anything that's come up. Anybody had anything? Okay, so everybody's still here. Wonderful. I hope this is helpful. Are you guys finding this helpful so far? Post in the chat if so, and let me know. Yes, good. Thanks, Bridget. And everybody can hear me and everything's going well there on that end. Nice to see. Good, thank you. So let me give a little information about navigation. Some of you have maybe already figured it out. I have listed several topics that you can see, and then you can follow the topics that you're interested in. So you'll be notified when there's a post in that particular topic. And then it will show up also in your discovery section if you're following it. I love that this community also shows where you are locally so that you can even connect to people that live near you. And I think that's really awesome because I know a lot of us want to have more HSP friends. I've heard that over and over again from my clients and students over the years that they wish that there was a space to really connect deeply with other sensitive people. So I'm glad that this is going to be that space. You can even follow people. You can follow me if that's something you want to be a part of all my posts. You can follow me or the certain people that you're really connecting to, and that will alert you to when they post something. Hopefully you've already checked out the welcome posts and videos and all the posts I've already done and we've already been doing. I try to put the most important things in the featured section, things like the events that we're having. And so you'll want to check out the events tab and RSVP to the ones that you're interested in. And then you actually get a little reminder that that's coming up also, which I like. You can adjust your notifications. It's probably would be way too overwhelming to receive absolutely everything that gets posted by, received by email, everything. If you want to do that, you can, but you can adjust it. And I think that's fantastic. We actually put something in the FAQ navigation tab topic to teach you how to do that so that you can just get notifications of what you want to be notified about or not get notified about anything and just pop on when you want to. So that's a really great feature too. so that it doesn't overwhelm you. I'm going to be trying to post replays of all of our events. That takes a little time to upload, and my wonderful assistant Kia is helping me with that. So we're hoping to have that be posted in the replay topic area within like 24 to 48 hours of live events. And then if you have specific questions for me, hopefully you've already seen that you can go to the Ask Julie topic and post those there. That way I don't miss anything, because if the questions are kind of spread out all over the place, I might miss them. So I wanted to have one area where I can get your questions, and I've already written down some of them I'm going to be answering today. And then Kia is my assistant in this group and in general, and she's wonderful to support you with technical stuff if that comes up for you. And any technical questions you can post in that FAQ navigation topic. So post technical stuff there, and questions for me specifically in Ask Julie. So that's how we separate that. I think this is going to be a wonderful and enriching community. There's 1.4 billion of us in the world. Can you believe it? That's a lot. So I hope that a lot of people find it. And I love that this community also offers an ambassador program where if you can actually get a special link, and we've posted about that also in that navigation section topic, if you want to learn how to do that. And it's kind of neat. You get badges depending on how many people you have referred. So if you put that link somewhere on a HSP group or to a friend or something, and they use that link to sign up, it tracks it automatically. And then I've put in different kinds of rewards like free books and to get your questions answered first, and even a free year subscription to this community if you are referring a lot of people. So I think that that's how we grow this to be a really special space, is if each one of you referred like 5 people, we can really have such a beautiful space here, or any number, where we're just hoping that this is something that you want to share. Gosh, there's so many wonderful things to share with you guys. I want to go through this whole list of things that you have shared with me, but just in the interest of time, I just went through a couple. Let me see, somebody asks, does the color green on the little button next to notifications items mean turned on, and the gray means turned? I'm not quite sure about that. Any technical questions, maybe we can ask Kia. She's a little bit better with the technical stuff than I am. But I'll be here to answer questions about the trait, and I just wanted to give you sort of a brief overview of how I'm viewing navigation too. And I still have a lot to learn too as we kind of move forward to see what works. So let me go through some of the questions that came in, some great questions, and then we'll see if we have time for any other questions you might want to post in the chat for me. So Christina asks, are there any tests that a family physician could do or request to confirm or verify sensory processing sensitivity? Yes, there's a few things that I recommend actually. Elaine Aron, and many of you are familiar with her, sort of the pioneer researcher that discovered this trait in the 90s. And she has a self-test on her website that is actually research-based. So that's one area. I've also created the sensitivity quiz based on my research that I think is also, so I personally give both of those. I give the self-test from Elaine Aron, and I give my sensitivity quiz to my clients and students to get an accurate number for them, because I think that it's interesting to get it in both perspectives. I also have created, because I've been asked this many times, if there's some kind of something that you could give to your doctor or your therapist, and I've created those guides, a guide to give to your doctor and a guide to give to your mental health professional about this trait, and it gives them directly like information on what you want to say about your trait, and a link to research on Elaine Aron's website, a link to my website so that they can research it more as well, and that can be found on sensitivebooks.com. sensitivebooks.com. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. I know a lot of people have that question. Nikki asked, she asked kind of a business question. How do HSPs handle selling or sales positions? Her current job is to recruit new physicians and retain current physicians' memberships. She's got the retention down, but it's the recruiting that she's having problems with because of fear of rejection, fear of looking pushy, especially at the beginning. So this is such a common experience for HSPs. We just really want to be such genuine people. So if we feel like we're selling something, it can feel a little almost icky inside. Part of what I like to look at that is not thinking of it as selling for any of you. And this is really for any of you that are in this kind of a field where you might be selling something. Try not to think of it as selling, and hopefully you're actually providing something that you believe in. And that's important, because if you're doing something that you don't believe in as an HSP, that's going to be a difficult profession for you. So hopefully you're doing something that you believe is actually going to be beneficial to them. And look at it with that frame, that you want to feel like what you're doing is offering something that they need. And that completely changes the energy behind it. And I like to think of things as like planting seeds. It's like, okay, let me plant these seeds that I'm giving you information, and then I kind of step back and see if that's information that you want, so that the energy behind it isn't so intense in terms of like, I need to make this sale, I need to make this sale, because there's almost a constriction, like a constricted energy that happens when we do that. So you really want to have sort of an open energy about it, coming from that place that you're offering something that person needs, and they may or may not be ready at this time. And that's where the planting seeds comes in. Sometimes people decide later that they need something. So hopefully that helps with that a little bit. Matthew asked, have you found in your relation to being an HSP and being on the autism spectrum? I know I've read that somewhere that people on the spectrum often suffer from overstimulation. So a lot of people wonder about this because the technical term for this trait is sensory processing sensitivity. And it gets confused sometimes with sensory processing disorder. Our sensitivity, because it's so close, obviously there's one word difference, sensitivity and disorder. This trait is not a disorder, and it's not diagnosable as a disorder. It is an innate trait. So that's one thing to look at. And sensory processing disorder is a neurological disorder. And it involves the senses, motor control, balance, and spatial awareness. And it causes sensory info to be kind of mixed up in the brain. And that is what is the cause of overstimulation. So the reason for our overstimulation is different. And Elaine Aaron, who's, as I mentioned, as the HSP researcher, she kind of changes there's a difference between it by noting that those of us with the trait of high sensitivity, that we have what we have defined down into an acronym DOES. She created that, DOES. And so all HSPs have this depth of processing, overstimulation, emotional responsiveness to both positive and negative, actually, and sensing the subtle. So all people with a trait that we have called sensory processing sensitivity would have all four of those. So that's another way to differentiate. So hopefully that's helpful. And checking in with you guys in our chats. How's everybody doing? You guys finding this helpful? Okay, so yes. Okay, Vicky says yes. Excellent. Okay, we'll keep going. Great. And LM, that's the name of the first name. She was asking, actually I'm assuming it's a she, but I don't know, was asking, does menopause change anything for HSPs? We just did such a great video in my last class with our naturopathic doctor that I brought on for that class. And so for any of you that were in that last class, Dr. Julia Hip, she's going to join us again here, which I'm super excited about. We might actually do a series of things because I think it's going to be fantastic to learn things from her side, the medical side, from me, the psychology side. So I think that's going to be fantastic. So she's going to go, I asked her about this question, and she's going to actually answer that for us, because I think that's going to be a good medical question. But yes, there are definitely, just to give you a quick answer about it, we are definitely seeing that this can be more challenging in this population. And that there's a lot of hormonal changes that are going on and making it even more challenging for us as sensitive people. So she's got some great tips, and I'll be putting in some tips in when we have that part too. And then another question that LM asked was about antidepressants for reducing over-arousal. One thing I want to say about medications is, first of all, I don't actually prescribe medications as a psychotherapist. That would be something like a psychiatrist or a medical doctor would prescribe. But what I have seen a lot in my work over the years with HSPs all over the world is that many of us are over-medicated. What happens a lot with, and the reason I know about this is because in my work, I've had lots of HSPs come to me really suffering. I used to suffer a lot too. And they've actually been able to find balance without medications for the most part. It's actually been on the more rare side that I've seen that an HSP needs medication for over arousal. There are so many natural things that we can do, even brain training. That's why I got really into the brain training part of this work, because we can make changes in our brain. Within 2 or 3 weeks, you can grow new neural networks in your brain just by using some of the techniques that I have developed. I'm going to be sharing those techniques along the way, but anybody that really wants to dive in more quickly and check out my books and courses that I already have out there. That's something that you can do if you really want to dive into learning these techniques. It's amazing how much it helps so quickly to do some of these brain training techniques. And we'll be focusing on that throughout our time here also, just to teach you those for sure. So I am always coming from a place of, let's try these methods before medications. Unless you are really falling off the edge and having, massive PTSD, massive trauma history, things like that, there are so many natural ways to reduce our overstimulation and overarousal first. And most, if not pretty much all of my clients have been able to get off medication. So I know it's possible. And I have a desire to train therapists and doctors how to do what I do, so that this is something that can help all of you. And I want to get a list of doctors and therapists in this group that know about the trait. And if you have an HSP doctor or therapist, refer them to this community. We want them to be listed. I'm in the process of developing a little quiz that they would take to make sure they understand about the trait before they get listed, so that when I'm giving you guys a list, because I know so many of you ask me do you know about a good HSP doctor or therapist? Elaine Aaron does have a list currently of HSP knowledgeable therapists on her website, so that list already does exist. But I'm really looking for adding more to that, as well as getting doctors on this list, because I think that's important to us as sensitive people. Make sure your doctors and therapists know about this trait. It is absolutely essential that they do. Or big things might be missed and misdiagnosed, because there's so much that can be done to reduce the overstimulation of our nervous system. So hopefully that's helpful. Hazel asks, how do I withdraw from social situations? I just get a sense to not be in without me cutting off all social contact and appear to be unfriendly or have to explain myself. Maybe this is about boundaries in social situations and knowing my limits. And I would say that, I think that many times as HSPs, we really are concerned a lot about what people think about us. We don't want to disappoint people. And it sounds like this might be part of that too. And I would look at it as different than cutting off social contact. I would look at it more as really honoring your needs. What I really like to teach the sensitive community is that if you're honoring your needs, paying attention to what you need, then that isn't a negative. That's a positive, because that's going to help you. That is true sensitive empowerment, is when you can recognize what your needs are and do what you need to do, the type of self-care, the downtime, the care that you need as a sensitive person to bloom brilliantly in the world. I believe it's our responsibility as each one of us to find out what that is for us, to be able to live in balance. I had to learn that too. And many of you have heard me talk about the orchid story, that, you know, there's this concept of orchids, and that they take a special kind of care. They don't just grow everywhere like dandelions might be growing everywhere. They need special environment. And when they get the right conditions, they bloom brilliantly. And so do you. You absolutely bloom brilliant in the world when you are getting the right conditions. And sometimes it can take time to make changes in our life to get those right conditions, but hopefully we plant seeds along the way that really support and guide you guys to do that, because you are meant to bloom brilliantly. Your gifts are needed. So I would say in that situation, Hazel, that really honor what your needs are, and you don't even have to explain to people why you're doing something. If you need to skip an event or leave early or arrive late to take care of your needs, you're taking care of your needs, and that's what an empowered, sensitive person does. Because when you're taking care of your needs, you're thriving, and everybody around you benefits when you're thriving. And that's incredibly important. That is your mission in life, is to find out what that is for you and live in that space, because when you get to live in that centered, balanced state, you will be shocked at how good you can feel as a sensitive person. So I hope that, you know, answering some of those questions was helpful. I'm going to check the chats now, because I actually went through the ones that were already written, and I'm going to see if I see any other questions that that I love it seeing the chats. Wonderful. Vicki says, do you find some medical professionals and therapists are skeptical of this trait? What do you recommend if our medical professional does not seem open to the research around the trait? Great question, Vicki. I'm glad you asked that, because I actually get asked that a lot. If you're working with a professional, medical or mental health professional, that is skeptical about this trait, that's a red flag, meaning they might not be the right professional for you. This trait has already been scientifically proven. And what I have seen over and over again against the thousands of HSPs I've worked with across the globe is that it is essential that they understand this trait to treat you in the best way, to have the best care for you, because things get missed. I cannot tell you how many times I've had therapists and doctors who I've consulted with who have completely shifted how they do things when they understand this trait. And it's so unfortunate if we're finding that. You are the consumer, and you do not want to work with somebody that is skeptical about learning about something that is going to support your well-being. So I would say shop around. We expect that as therapists, and you can even do that with your doctors as well. I know I have a doctor who was really receptive to me teaching about the trait and wanting to understand it and thinking about my needs in terms of medication and my sensitivities and things like that. And she was away on vacation, and I had to use a different doctor, like a substitute doctor, and it was completely different. And that's where the invalidation comes in. If they're skeptical, they're being invalidating, and that's not the right professional for you. There are wonderful doctors and therapists out there who are willing to sit with you and learn about you, and those are the ones you want. And hopefully we will grow this community to get you a big list of them as well, because I'm going to be supporting the referral to doctors and therapists who are going to take this seriously, because it's real. It's a real scientifically proven trait. So I think it's important. Okay, somebody says, Ciara asked me, would you have any idea if there are more HSPs affected by things such as fibromyalgia compared to the non-HSP population? I am finding that there are often a lot of chronic conditions in this community. I think that has a lot to do with the overstimulation of our nervous system. And even thinking about, if you think about, we have overactivation in the amygdala part of our brain, which is that fight, flight, freeze. If we're activating that every day, and that's something I used to activate every day too, and most HSPs that are sort of, I call them the difference between untrained and trained HSPs. Untrained don't know about all this stuff, and trained do. So the trained ones are the ones that have probably read my books or my courses and learned about the brain differences, the system differences that are really important. So what happens, can you imagine releasing stress hormones and chemicals and adrenaline into your system over and over and over again every single day and have that not impact your health? It absolutely impacts your health. And in every aspect of our life gets impacted by that. So if you really commit to learning some of the techniques you'll be learning, learn all you can about this trait. You can visit my website, empoweredhsp.com. or even juliebjelland.com. There's tons of stuff already on my website it's completely for sensitive people. I have blogs, posts that I do every week. You can sign up for the newsletter, hspblog.com. There's tons of resources and information already on there. I've done lots of interviews and podcasts, videos, so you will be shocked at how much information is already on my website, and I'm going to be, of course, bringing in new information as well into this community for you. But that's a great place to get started, to start learning about it, what you can do right now. And it's possible. We can train the brain. That's what's absolutely amazing, to be able to not release those stress signals because the brain can't tell the difference between a real threat and a perceived threat. So it might perceive a threat, it thinks that a lion is about to attack you when you're just highly stressed. So, and then it sends out all the alarm signals into your brain into your body that ends up harming our body over time. And I certainly used to get sick all the time and have lots of health issues that are now managed and way better. And actually many of them have gone away. And many of you have experienced that too, who have been aware of my work for a while. So there are things that definitely make it better. And I love how Dr. Hip kind of explained the nervous system. She was the naturopathic doctor that I interviewed, and she was explaining the nervous system as imagining that the nervous system is like a container. And I like to think about imagining that the non-HSP, those that don't have this trait, maybe just have a few cups of stuff dumped into the nervous system that it has to process, whereas an HSP might have 100 cups of stuff dumped into that nervous system container that has to be processed. And if we're not processing all of that in the right ways and draining it out, then it's not possible for the body to process toxins in the same way. So a buildup of toxins also causes a lot of health conditions. So if you're starting to figure out and learn through a lot of my trainings and work that how to make sure that that nervous system is not overloaded every single day. I know mine used to be, so I absolutely know what that feels like, what survival mode feels like versus thriving. You're going to be shocked at how much healthier you get when your body can actually process the toxins that you're getting exposed to. Also to think about what you are exposing yourself to in terms of making sure that you're eating healthy and staying away from processed foods and preservatives and chemicals, and just thinking about how you're taking care of your body in general. But there's so much to share with you about that we'll be going through along the way. So Bridget, thank you. I'm so glad that was helpful for you. And you guys can ask some more questions into the chat if you have them. And I will try to do my best to answer them. What are you all thinking about the community so far? Are you happy to be here? Are you enjoying the connections? I'm really excited to see us grow in this community. And it's just such somebody called it an HSP wonderland. And I absolutely love that. I love that it was called that because I kind of see it as that too. It's such a special space. Yeah. Jolie Lynn says, hopefully I'm saying that right. Eczema, yeah, absolutely. Skin conditions also can improve. You have to think about too about stress levels. When our stress levels are very high, our body's immune system and immune response is not working at its best. And I've actually talked about, and I'll show you guys like a little, almost like a little visual. Find myself here. So if you think about the nervous, like the stress levels as being on a scale of 1 to 10, for example, and most HSPs, let me ask you guys this. What do you think your stress levels are on a daily basis? Write those numbers into the chat and I'll read off some of them and I'll tell you guys about what I often hear is a common number. So on a scale of 0 to 10, what is your daily stress number? Okay, they're starting to come in. Got 6, 7, 8, 7 to 8. Yep. Yeah, 10 is the high stress. 0 is no stress. Yep. So we're getting, and it's so fascinating. Whenever I ask this question, most people respond anywhere from 6 to 8 to 9, something like that. And what's really interesting is that the limbic system, the overactivation of our limbic system that causes all the stress in our body, gets activated at about a 7. So what happens, if we're walking around with numbers close to that or higher, we're activating that limbic system all the time. And our body can't keep up with that. It's too much. And what we learn to do, and I know many of you are going to think this is impossible because HSPs always tell me this, but it's not, because I've already guided many HSPs to do this all over the world. We want your number to be a 2. And the reason for that is that if you keep your stress numbers low on a daily basis, and yes, it's absolutely possible. I was way up there at the 10 out of 10 myself, and I've guided thousands of HSPs across the globe already to do this, so I know it's possible with some effort and with some consistency for learning what your needs are and using the owner's manual that's the HSP owner's manual, not the non-HSP owner's manual, like the living manual of how we take care of ourselves. So if you're walking around with a 2 and you get stressed about, some stress falls in your lap, something happens and it's going to, your numbers might pop up to 4, 5 possibly, but it doesn't activate the limbic system until it hits that 7. And that's what we're talking about. So we want to keep those numbers lower. So we have to figure out, and I always have HSPs do things like this, pay attention to the things that lower your stress numbers and the things that make it go higher. And so we want to do more of the things that lower it. And HSPs love nature. That's a big one. Are you getting out into nature every day? Are you living a life that's too frantic, too overwhelmed? Finding ways to change that over time. It really will change your life if you do that. Let me just go ahead and check some of the chats we've got here. Oh yeah, Jolie, am I saying Jolie? Jolynn, there we go. I think that's how you say it. Meeting super sweet people in this community. Yes, I love it. And I want to hear some more from you guys. What are you loving about this community so far? It warms my heart to hear it because you are very sweet people and genuine and kind and loving and supportive. And I love having you guys together. Ciara says, that's fabulous information, Julie. I'm so looking forward to the journey ahead with my fellow HSPs. Yay! I'm so looking forward to your journey too. I love guiding you all. I kind of consider, and some of you may have heard this from me before in some of my work, but I kind of consider like as HSPs, we're sort of dropped off in this jungle in life and we don't have any idea which direction we're supposed to go because the 80%, the direction the 80% are going doesn't actually work for us. And so my goal here is to show you the direction that does work for the sensitive system to really reach your highest potential in life, because you go out and make the world a better place when you're living to your fullest. That's absolutely what you do. You're the ones that make the world a better place. You're out there doing things for others, and it's just who you are. So it's almost like releasing out into the world all these amazing people that, you know, when we lift off that layer of overwhelm and overstimulation that you're having. Yeah, Sierra says even when there's nothing happening to make it be an 8, it just runs at that continually. That's what it feels like, and I know that because I used to live that way too. There's a lot, remember this is a sensory processing sensitivity, so there's a lot of sensory overload that we receive because we're following what the 80% are doing. So I'm recommending, and this comes from research in anxiety, research in the trait, that we're recommending 2 hours of alone time per day and 1 full day off per week. And that time off, we want to be spending in nature, quietly, not doing our to-do list or our chores, but really making changes in our life that allow us to have that downtime, that reflective time. And within that reflective time, we've got 3 things we want to do. We want to be able to process. Remember all that stuff in the nervous system container I was talking about? We need to process what's in there. So I call that brain processing time. I like to separate that, you know, if you keep on processing throughout the day, I always tell HSPs, every time you go to the bathroom, ask yourself 2 questions. How am I doing and what do I need? How am I doing and what do I need? Every time you go to the bathroom, because that's throughout the day, and that gives you a chance to process what's in there and keep it processed so that you're not coming home with 100 cups of stuff you have to process and no ability to be present with your family or the rest of your life. So that's something you want to really think about too. And then the second part is rest time, and then restorative time. So rest can be yoga, it can be journaling, it can be quiet activities, playing music, listening to music, doing things that are really just you love doing, but in a restful state. It's just kind of peaceful. Restoration, we really want to not be taking in new information into our brain. So meditation is really, really helpful for HSPs and mindfulness training. Meditation it's not about emptying your mind completely. That's not even possible. It's about strengthening the muscle that takes off. I know as a lot of HSPs, our brain sort of takes off in over worrying, over ruminating, anxiety about the future, things like that. But if you meditate consistently every day, what's going to happen is every time you're in meditation and you notice that your mind wandered and you bring it back to maybe the breath or to the meditation that you're listening to, every time you noticed and brought it back, you're strengthening that muscle that eventually, and actually quite quickly, gives you that ability to pause, reflect, and respond versus react in life. That ability to stop and go, wow, what's going on with me? What do I need? And we really need a lot of support to do that because we tend to be very externally focused, paying attention to everybody else's needs. Most HSPs don't even know what their needs are because they've been so, and I should say most untrained HSPs don't even know what their needs are because we've been so focused on other people's needs. So this process is the ability to check in. How am I doing? And what do I need? Oh, you know, I'm actually really tired. Maybe I need a nap. Maybe I shouldn't take on this other project right now. Maybe I should say no to this event because I'm too tired and I need to restore. So these are things, and we're going to work on the guilt and the boundaries and how to say no without guilt and so many things in this community. So I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. I'll give you a couple more minutes if there's anything that you want to put into the chat. There's just absolutely so much I want to teach you guys, and I definitely don't want to overwhelm anybody in our first. You can see that I am incredibly passionate about this subject, and a lot of that passion comes from, oh, Jolynn, yes, I got it right that second time. Okay, good. You told me how to pronounce your name. Thank you. I was reading that wrong at first. You know, there's just so much to teach you and so much to learn about this, and it's just really going to be very supportive for your sensitive system. Support each other. For those of you that have read my books or taken my courses and you have information through some of that, share some of that information with some of the people in our community that haven't. You know, let them know about what's helping you. This is not a place where we're going to give advice, but we're going to share experiences. And that's important to share experiences, to be able to say, you know, Julie's breath technique really helps me. Julie's self-compassion technique really helps me, and things like that. And I want to teach you guys some of those too. So maybe we'll take a couple of minutes to teach you a couple of those things before we end today, because I think that those two things are things I want all HSPs to be really practicing right now. So the breath technique, the concept of that is that we want to communicate to our brain that we are not in danger when we are not in danger. So, because I was always saying the brain can't tell the difference. So we need to communicate with it. So what you do is, and this is anytime maybe you're kind of nervous about something, or you want to be able to slow your heart rate. You're noticing that your heart rate is getting a little bit amped up, or you're getting stressed about something. What you want to do is you take your breath in for the count of 4. You're counting it either out loud or in your head, because that activates the cognitive brain when the emotional brain has become too activated. And a quick note about that, when the emotional brain is too activated, the cognitive brain goes to sleep. And the cognitive brain is where rational thought, facts, efficiency, focus come from. And that's why sometimes when we're really upset or are really emotional about something, we've just lost all that cognitive ability. That's why. So this breathing technique can actually turn back on that cognitive brain and sort of deactivate that stress center. Because it's fascinating in the brain, when we deactivate the stress centers, we can actually do that intentionally. And so you're counting in for the count of 4, you're holding it for 2, and you're exhaling for 7. Notice that the exhale is very long and slow. That long, slow exhale is what sends a signal to your brain that you are not in danger, that you're okay, because you don't breathe like that when you're about to be attacked by a lion. You'll hear me talk about the attack by a lion thing, because this trait evolved as a survival strategy of the population. So I often think about how we evolved and how we used to live on land, and we needed that alarm system because a lion could attack us. But in today's modern world, especially for the sensitive person, we're sending that alarm bell is too much. You know, whizzing traffic can cause it. Somebody cuts you off, somebody criticizes you. This can send in a signal to your brain that you're in danger, and that changes the way it uses oxygen. It goes into your muscles, which is why you get tense when you're stressed. You can get flushing. You feel your heart racing. That has already sent a signal to release adrenaline. So what we want to do is prevent that. So I suggest about 5 to 7 cycles of that breath pattern. And I know a lot of HSPs have been already sharing with me how much that helps. And it's amazing. You have that access to that anytime. You can teach children this also, this technique. It's really great for them. Remember the long, slow exhale at 7. That's what you're doing. So concentrating on that, that's going to be really helpful. And Jolynn says, heart math teachers also think positive emotional thoughts as you breathe. It works so well. Yes, absolutely. That's a great thing. And you're going to see, I actually talk a lot about building up that positive tank, that it takes about 5 positives to neutralize 1 negative. And our societies really focus on a lot of negative. There's a lot of negative in the news. There's a lot of negativity because that's something the brain actually absorbs negativity instantly. And positives take up to 15 to 20 seconds to be really absorbed into the brain. And nobody does that by naturally. So I'm suggesting that you intentionally start absorbing the positives, which is why I have a positivity topic, fill-up tank topic that I want you guys to be following, because we really want to continually feed that positive tank. If that positive tank is full, it supports that negative tank. If the positive tank is empty and the negative tank is taken over, life is really difficult. So you want to really every single day be taken in the positive. For me, I might be loving the birds that I'm watching, the sunset, the sunrise, plants. I love all that stuff. Gardening, doing things that really fill up my positive tank, focusing on positive, reducing the amount of negative you're taking in. That means also reducing news, because there's a lot of wonderful things going on in the world too, but that doesn't get talked about so much. So be careful what you're taking in as a sensitive person. Also looking at your stress numbers. If your stress numbers up there towards that 7, above a 5, really be conscious about what negative you're taking in. Also think about that in boundaries and that walking around. If there's somebody incredibly negative in your life, you might want to limit your time with them, redirect them to something positive if possible. So we're going to be teaching you about boundaries and things like that too. So hopefully that's very helpful. Are you guys finding this helpful so far? We've got just about 5 more minutes. Yes, awesome, Bridget. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe we'll end with the self-compassion technique because we just have a few more minutes. And that's something I love HSPs to be really practicing a lot. This method evolved from something I learned from Kristen Neff, who actually researches self-compassion as her job. That's what she does. And it is incredible. It's powerful. Many of you that have already been in my courses have already know this technique, but it is a wonderful one to practice on a daily basis because we want to really develop that self-compassion because we tend to be really hard on ourselves. So I want you to be thinking about self-talk. HSPs, untrained HSPs tend to be saying terrible things to themselves, very critical things. So really pay attention to the self-talk. So the self-compassion technique is that we can put our hand here, you can hug yourself. That activates the proprioceptors that are calming. And it's going to have 3 steps. Step 1 is to be able to name what you're feeling. What is your emotion that you're feeling in that moment? Like if you notice that you're having a hard time, this is a great time to do the practice of this self-compassion technique. And just finding the words to the emotion and the feeling that you're having starts to activate that cognitive brain. And when the cognitive brain comes back online, it supports that emotional brain. And the emotional brain tends to be overactive in HSPs. So we really want to add in techniques that help support it. In that second step, we want to normalize and validate. Normalize is like, okay, other HSPs, and I want you to compare yourself to HSPs, not non-HSPs. Other HSPs probably feel this way too. And then the validation is, it makes sense to me that I feel this. Validation is so important. So many of us have not had validation for what we've experienced in life. So you starting to validate yourself really is incredible. So validate. It makes sense to me that I feel whatever it is that you're feeling, okay? And in the third step, you want to ask yourself, what do I need? In this moment, what do I need? Do I need a hug? Do I need a break? Do I need to go outside? What do you need in that moment to help you through it? So I want you guys to practice that, okay? And come and share in the community what you found helpful today. I would love to hear about it. What did you find helpful? What techniques are you practicing that are working for you? And everything. So I am just so thrilled to welcome you to this new community, this new sensitive empowerment community. I am so happy that you're here, and I just love that we have one space to be together and that we can support each other and we can learn about this trait and how to really thrive in the world. So thank you everybody for being here today. I love that you were, and the replay will be put into our replay topic. And I'm excited for all the things we have ahead of you. And I really wish you the best, and I hope you're taking really good care of yourselves. Okay, I hope everybody's taking really good care of yourselves. Share your self-wins. Your self-care wins, share those because we're inspiring each other with that. Share your positives because we're inspiring each other. Share your beautiful stories and connections. And, you know, we just, there's so much love and support in this community already. And yay, Becca says, I'm excited too. Thank you, Julie. Lots of wins today. Excellent. Ciara says, thanks very much. Vicky says, thank you. Thank you. Bridget, thank you so much. Beautiful to be with you all. Jolynn says, we are blessed. You had a vision to do this and followed through. Oh, that's sweet. I love it. Diane, thank you so much. Oh, I'm so thrilled you guys were here. And It means a lot, and I'm so glad that you're all starting to have an understanding of how amazing it can be together. And I just love it, and I'm very happy you're here. So welcome to Sensitive Empowerment. Enjoy your time here, and we'll see you inside and next week too. Bye, everybody.